there guys, welcome to a book review. We haven't done any book videos for a while, so I figured it was probably time to do one. I apologise for the state of my hair, I just got out of the shower. I've been very busy this weekend with lots of stuff going on that I'll talk about later, and I haven't really had time. I've got like a little 3-hour slot to try and get this video done and out in, so yeah, enough of that. Today we are going to be talking about Metro 2033 by Dmitry Glukhovsky. Now you might be thinking, that sounds kind of familiar, I feel like I know that from somewhere, and yes you do. If you've been watching this channel for long enough, you will know that I did a video game walkthrough of the video game adaptation of Metro 2033. And I've been a big fan of the Metro universe for a very long time. I played Metro 2033 when it first came out in 2012, I do believe, I could be wrong about that. And I picked up the book about a year later. And then I finished it about 6 months ago. But we're going to talk about that a bit more in a little bit. A quick disclaimer, I don't have the book to hand because I recently changed the whole room around and it's gotten lost somewhere along the way. Proof that I did, however, read it, or not so much read it, will be right there. As I do have it on my Audible, you can kind of see it. Just as proof that I did pay for it. Metro 2033 takes place 20 years after the Third World War. The bombs falling has annihilated the surface of the planet, destroying every major city and wiping out almost all of humanity, and the few survivors that remain are forced to seek out a delicate existence in the metro stations, which is kind of like the Russian equivalent of the subway or the underground for those of us in the West. Our story follows Artyom, who's living in the station known as Zelenskaya, or I believe that's how you pronounce it. It could be very wrong. In the games, it's referred to as Expedition, and that's what I'm going to be referring to it as, because I struggle with these Russian names quite a lot. Now, Expedition is kind of located on the outskirts of the metro system. There are a few stations proceeding to, I believe it's the 5th station in the line. It's either the 5th or the 6th station. That's not overly important. What is important is that all of the stations beyond this one have suddenly started to go dark. And it is believed that a mysterious race, known only as the Dark Ones, are actually invading the metro stations and wiping them out slowly one by one, with Zelenskaya being the next station on the list to go. Just as things are starting to get a little bit hairy and people are really starting to get on edge, and their expeditions out of expedition are getting shorter and shorter because the Dark One's presence is just becoming too much to handle, a friend of Artyom's father, known as Hunter, arrives. Hunter is a ranger, or kind of like a stalker, which is the Stalker games are a big inspiration, I believe, going into the Metro storyline, and a lot of the developers from the Stalker games worked on the Metro game as well. And yes, I will be doing lots of these comparisons as we go through this video. After having a long discussion with Artyom's father, Hunter decides that he needs to do something about the threat of the Dark Ones. And in the games, this is never explained why he does this, but it is explained in the book, but I won't tell you what happens because I think it does get into some quite severe spoiler territory. Basically, Hunter says to Artyom, look, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to try and work out what's happened. If I'm not back here by tomorrow, you need to go to Polis, which is the largest station in the metro. It's where most of the Rangers are based out of, and they are probably the only station in the metro with the capability to actually stop the Dark Ones from coming in. Hunter says to Artyom, if I don't come back, you need to go to Polis, you need to deliver this message, and you need to convince them to come and help us. Naturally, because the story needs to happen, Hunter never returns, and Artyom is forced to go on a daring, very dangerous, and very long, painful journey through the metro systems to reach Polis to then get help for his station. Fans of the games kind of know a few of the stops along the way and a few of the characters that he meets. And the book follows on, for the most part, quite similarly, and it's about halfway through that initial journey when things start to really deviate more. I'm not going to talk about the exact events too much because I believe, well, obviously, the point of me making this video is that I want you guys to go out and read the book yourself. I don't want to spoil anything for you. And yeah, to be honest, I do think the games did the book justice. There's a lot less combat. It's one of the few things I will say. There's hardly any shooting going on at all. It's actually only about the halfway point when Artyom first fires a weapon, really. But we do still meet most of the characters along the way. In the games, I always kind of wondered why everything had these English or American names. When you meet Miller later on, you know, why is he called Miller? or bourbon, which is obviously bourbon, and that joke's actually explained in the books. And it's quite clearly because, as an Englishman with no comprehension of the Russian language whatsoever, trying to read this novel, which is a Russian translation, all of the names are kept in Russian. And it becomes so difficult to actually keep up with where Artyom is, who he's speaking to, and at times just what the hell is going on and where he's going to. Luckily, in the front of the book, there is a map of all the metro stations and all clearly labelled. So I found myself constantly stopping reading to go back to this map just to try and figure out where the hell Artyom was and where the hell he was going. Because it's not just a straight run because, well, there are different factions warring with each other, there are mutants, and there are other strange phenomena which cannot and never are actually explained in the story. And it's one of my main complaints with the novel, but not my only one. And it's kind of like, I get this sort of thing can't really be helped because it is a translation. But I do think that when the book was translated, they could have made more of an effort to maybe rename some of the stations and some of the people, just to keep it in line, just to make it easier to understand. Because your reader should never have to put the book down to look at something else to find out what's going on. Like, it's nice and all having that map there, and if you're really into the book, then, you know, it's nice to have, and it will help you along. But I found, for me, it just kind of put me off reading the novel, especially since there are a lot of sections where you just have these campfire scenes. I don't mind them. It's kind of like you get a lot in like military films and things. All the characters sit down and you get a big lump of development as everyone talks about their families and their past and why they're there and everything else. The problem is the way these are written is you have pages and pages of monologues from each character. It's kind of like one character. Sorry, it's kind of like one character speaks for 5 pages, and then Artyom says, "Huh, really? That's really interesting." And then that character proceeds to speak for another 5 pages. And what you have is just an absolutely excessive amount of dialogue. And some of it is really interesting, but after a while, especially when I was reading the novel before I gave up and went to the audiobook, it was a real struggle to keep up with it sometimes. And I was so glad I did go to the audiobook because the story really picked up towards the second half. There were a couple of things, though, that I didn't like along the way. One of the things being Artyom kind of accepted everything, I think, a little bit too easily. And for the most part, that's fine, because you have this kind of fish out of water, and every time he moves to a different station, he's got to adapt to a whole new set of rules and regulations, and kind of some stations won't let you go through without proper paperwork. Some stations won't let you go through without a weapon. And then maybe the next station, you need to actually fight through that station because there's a war going on, and you have all of these different factors. But there was one point where it just got a bit too silly for me. And I won't say exactly what happened. If you've read the book, you know what you... And I say the bit with the rats, then you probably understand what I'm talking about. Not the earlier scene. It's later on, probably about 3/4 of the way through the story, where Artyom, it involves Artyom, one of his friends, and a couple of rats. And yeah, it was too much. And the way the situation resolves was far too easy, especially given how strict this station's rules are meant to be. And that bit I did kind of find myself sitting there listening to this going, no, sorry, don't buy that. Now, the other thing and one of the few things I think the game actually did a lot better than the book, was the overall theme. If you've played the games, you should know the canonical end. You know that there are 2 endings to the Metro 2033 video game. There's a good ending, there's a bad ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything. I will not say anything that happens, but what you should know is that the bad ending is the canonical ending. It's the ending that should happen for the next games to happen. If you get the good ending, good for you, but you should be following on from the bad ending. And the bad ending and the good ending both kind of set up this theme that's told to you throughout the game. And I'm not going to talk about what this theme is because I don't want to ruin anything, I don't want to give it away, but it's very obvious, and throughout the whole of the game it was very in your face that you were supposed to be questioning the mentalities of a lot of the characters you were meeting and the things that were going on. The book doesn't do it at all. And that was really jarring, because it suddenly brought it up right at the end, and it just kind of felt really out of nowhere. And of course, you had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen if you played, from playing the game. I won't say anything, but stories often exist to convey a message, and the impression I got from playing the game was that it was trying to give you this message. Question things. Don't just take what's given to you as God's law, and look at a situation and try and understand what's actually going on. Because it's not necessarily as bad and malicious as it seems. The book doesn't do that. The book tells you the book just tells you one thing throughout the entire story, and there's no indication whatsoever that you should think any differently and that you shouldn't question. It doesn't give you any reason to question what's happening until the very last chapter, and then it just kind of, the twist, if you will, I didn't like it, because it was kind of like, you had no reason to question this. There was nothing throughout the novel to make you second guess, ask him second guess what he's doing, which is the idea that's happening throughout the games. It just didn't work. It didn't happen. And so when the twist comes in the ending, it just felt really jarring, and I found myself really taken out of the story. It didn't help that I kind of knew what was coming, but yeah, it was just kind of like the whole novel was so close to greatness. Like, there were some fantastic sequences, absolutely brilliant scenes. Like, the library scene in the novel in particular really stood out to me, because playing the game, and anyone who's played the game will tell you, you mentioned the library to them, they're probably going to go, no. Oh, no. Yeah, I'd take the library in the game over the library in the book any day. Any day, without hesitation. Like, no, give me the one from the game, not the one from the book. The one from the book was absolutely terrifying. And there were a couple of instances like that where I was just terrified. And the Metro really does a fantastic job of building up this mythos and making you wonder about things. Something I wanted to apply to my own writing. It's just this sense of, it doesn't explain everything to you. It doesn't spoon feed everything to you. It leaves things for you to wonder, like things that will probably be explored in the next books, because it is a series. You know, there's 2034 and 2035 in the series. I don't know if there'll be another one, but I kind of hope that there is, and I want this series to never end. But it doesn't give you that message that the game does throughout. The game's having you question things, and the book never does. And then, so when they end, you just don't have this kind of... It just fell short at the end, as quite a few books that I've read lately have. And initially, I was kind of, that's kind of cool. And then when I stopped and thought about it, well, hang on, like, no, it doesn't really work. I think it only really worked to me because I played the game first, and I kind of knew what to expect. But it didn't work. But if you read, I feel like if you read the book first, you're missing out on things. I feel like the book should almost be used as a companion to the game, because the book explains so much more and gives you so much more in the way of world building. But I would highly recommend picking up the audiobook version rather than the physical novel. Just because I really struggled. It was a really hard book to read, and I loved it, but it's very long. The book itself is massive. It's a big old book. It's not a little A5 thing. It's about this big. I can't find it, and I got it because I spent about an hour looking for the damn thing, and I can't work out where it is. But it's not small. It's big, with tiny little text of just paragraphs of dialogue, and it's all really interesting stuff, but it's so hard to read it. And I get why they've done it, because otherwise the book would just be massive and just go on forever. But, you know, I think given everything, and considering that there are more books in the series that will probably answer some of my questions and address some of my queries, it's worth a read, like 100%. Like, I highly recommend the Metro 2033. But just brace yourselves for a little bit of a jarring ending, and there are just a couple of sequences that I just didn't like, and I felt like, nah, that's just too far. Now it's just a couple of scenes that kind of seem to be like, you have a very important sequence that was played entirely for laughs, and it's kind of like, I get that not every station encounter can be full of action, full of scary mutants. But I think it was just kind of like, you're just trying to make this too funny. And it almost felt like the writer kind of wrote this scene and realized, like, I don't know how to get you out of this. So he just kind of had him do something random and kind of disgusting and just funny. And then he just gets out. And it just kind of took away from the overall feel and flow of the story. But those are my few complaints. I still love the book. I can't wait to read the next ones. They are on my very long list of novels that I need to read and review. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this novel as well. Enjoyed this novel. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video, and I hope you go on, pick up the novel, or pick up the audiobook, which I highly recommend, and enjoy it for yourselves as well. Now, just a quick little shameless tag on at the end. I know there's a few of you wondering, Smudge, what the hell's going on with your writing? There's a lot to explain, and there's not enough time to do it in this video, so that will be coming at some point soon, TM. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll see you all on the next one. Adios.